man who isn't even in the state of California going to get a gas chamber like most people would, but is going to maybe would spend life in prison. How can you tell and instruct that jury to send a message, to send a the LAPD, to send a message to send a message that it has to stop now, that this behavior this is, I mean, his closing summation. Let's look at it as what it really was and what it really is. Okay.
Okay.
If you, all right, drive through the very neighborhood that Mr. Simpson lives in. All right. I will bet you $1 to a donut you'll get pulled over.
I agree, 100%.
Okay. But Mr. Simpson will not get pulled over.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Simpson does not live the life you live.
Absolutely.
This was not a trial about a racist society. This was a trial about murder. But Mr. Cochran tried to put the entire LAPD and the entire power structure on trial based on the actions of one man. Should Mr. Furman have been involved in this? Should he have been in the case? Should he even have been in the police department? No.
Right.
But it wasn't a case. It's not a case of this. We don't need a trial about the race in this society because we know it's already there.
Right.
What we need a solution on how to fix it.
Right.
But he invoked race.
Right. Well, my thing is that the LA Police Department knew what kind of person Mark Furman was, and I believe they knew that because of the kind of person that Mr. Cochran was, if you throw him in there, he's going to bring it up. So why even use him to begin with? Because sometimes
you're in a situation where Marcia Clark and Chris Darden and Gil Garcetti and these people, they don't control the LAPD. I mean, if you want to ask anybody, if anybody has to answer for that, Willie Williams would have to answer for it, and he's black.
Right.
Why did Willie Williams permit this guy to be on the force?
Right. I don't even. But see, now he just got on the force. I mean,
well, he still could have done something about it. He could have cleaned the entire. Why is it? Let me tell you something. Why is it that in 35 years? Why is it in 35 years that not one mayor, and L.A. had a black mayor for a long time, who was a product of that police department?
Right.
Why is it in 35 years they never have done anything about that department?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I mean, this is the whole point. And you know what? You don't send a message to the mayor. You're not sending a message to Reardon. You're not sending a message to the city council. You're not sending a message to the state of California. You're not sending a message to America by finding a guy not guilty of murder. I mean, Cochran's logic there is the same thing as when Bob Dole or Phil Graham runs around the country screaming. And Pat Buchanan, we can't leave him out. Screaming about, immigrants, African Americans, this, that, the other. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just pandering, and it's wrong, man.
I think that was hype, and the reason why I say hype because I paid that no attention. I mean, as an African American, if I was on the trial, I would have said, even though I had reasonable doubt, I would have said not guilty because of incompetence on the part of the police department.
But do you think that can be decided in 2 hours, number one, and number two? How much incompetence by the police department are we talking about? I mean, I had people calling up here last night, the night before, last week, with ridiculous theories about how Ron Goldman's blood got in that Bronco. I mean, the fact of the matter is, there was a mountain of evidence, and that jury didn't look at a mountain of evidence. And on top of that, Mr. Cochran did the thing that hits. Come on, man. Look, you know something? And I'm not going to hide this from you. I mean, because I'm not going to be dishonest. If you and I were sitting in a jury together, all right, and the lawyer stood up in front of me and appealed to me as a Jew, okay?
Right.
I'd be visibly moved.
I know you would. But
I mean, I'd have a hard time fighting that image off.
Right. See, my former employer was a Jew, and that was one thing he and I, certain discussions he and I never even had.
But what I'm saying to you is, you would feel the same thing. You would feel the same thing if Cochran. Come on, admit it to me, Jay. If you saw Cochran's closing statements, okay?
I did. Saw the whole thing.
Were you not visibly moved as a black man that you were sitting there saying, "Yeah, this guy's telling the truth"? Come on.
No. To be honest, I have to say, first of all, I go to a church where they give moving sermons all the time. I was born and raised on moving sermons, so that didn't move me. I mean,
it didn't move you at all. You didn't have any feeling of like, yeah, this guy's finally telling it the way it is.
No, but my thing was this. From the beginning, when the whole trial started, I said, until I hear the evidence, I don't know. And then as it progressed, I said, well, maybe he is guilty. And then the little hole that he punched in it with the blood on the sock, and say, for instance, the nurse who worked for 30 years, you never, I've got family members that work in hospitals, you don't draw blood and make assumptions. The vials have numbers on them. How do you go from 8 cc's of blood to 6.5? Come on. He was working in the hospital for 30 years.
But you know what? But you know what, though? We could banter this all back and forth. The only thing I'm going to tell you about this area is, yes, I agree with you that there was sloppy work there, but you know something? Anytime you take human beings and you plug them into any position, at critical times, sometimes they just don't come through. Sometimes they do treat things sloppily. Sometimes they have a bad history of treating things sloppily. You know, let's remember that the city of Los Angeles, that office, that Garcetti's office, that has a terrible record. And why do you think they do? Maybe because they are sloppy. But the fact of the matter is, you can't negate the fact that Simpson's blood was all over the place and that Goldman's blood was in his car. And we could fight the evidence back and forth, but the fact of the matter is that this isn't about evidence. You know what this is about? This is about those of us who are white, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sitting home, watching black people jumping up and down like they're at a football game, and hearing O.J. Simpson's sister say, I'm so happy I could dance a jig. Well, you know what? I just want to ask you this, Jay.
Right.
Who's dancing a gig for Ronald Goldman? Who's dancing a gig for Nicole Brown Simpson? She said it. She drew her will up at 30 years of age. She told her sister, he's going to kill me, and he's going to get away with it. And you know something? She was right, and she's dead and gone, man. Who's cheering for her?
Nobody. That's grievous. It's very grievous. I mean, and I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm going to go, but I'm going to say this one thing. I don't know if he did it, but if he did, he's going to face God in judgment. As an African-American, I'll say that much.
Well,
he hasn't gotten off yet. He may have got by, but he has not gotten away.
Well, you know what? On that part, you're right, because he can't. Because you know what? When the end comes, regardless of whether whoever your God is, okay? Whether it's Allah, Jesus, God, whatever you choose to call it, you're right. You're absolutely right about that.
And if he did, he's going to have to look Nicole in the face and she say, why? Why did you do that to me? And Ron standing right next to her saying, why did you do that to us, if that's what happened?
All right, pal.
So he will not get away.
Have a good night.
God bless you.
Okay. 591-8900, area code 312. I'll tell you something. I'm going to be the first to say this about Simpson. I accept the jury's verdict. I don't think that they, I don't like it. But I'll say this much about it. He has a pay-per-view. I say boycott it. I don't know what the legal ramifications are of me getting on the air and saying that. But I, for one, would have nothing to do with anything that he would put on pay TV. How about you, Tony? You watch it? No? Nope. Grant?
If you want to do this, I am right behind you, man.
I say now, tell 5 of your friends, do not watch O.J. Simpson. Do not pay to see him explain and alibi away why he murdered 2 people. That sounds like I'm not accepting the justice system. And I know I have to accept it. But on the other hand, I can't accept it. I don't know. This is the most confused I've ever been over anything I can think of in a long, long time. I felt hurt by the Gulf War, but this I'm just confused and depressed and disgusted. And, Grant, let's get a train tonight to Vegas.
Oh, man. That's like a good craps table to take your...
Let's go check in. Let's go check into Bally's. Let's go check into Bally's, man. And order the food and start gambling.
I'll tell you what. I ran into someone today around 2 o'clock who had no idea what the verdict was. Didn't care. And I thought to myself, I wish that was me.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't so wrapped up into it that it affected me so much. Because this guy was like, oh, it's a normal day. I'm doing my thing. I don't care. Was he guilty, not guilty? What's the deal? I'm like, he was not guilty.
I mean, for those of us that work at night, what did you do all day? I just skulked around. You move from one room to the other.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah.
You try to, you try to do something, you can't do anything. You're just, and then on the other hand, then things flash through your head like, oh God, I'm taking this too personally. It's like, come on, let's relax and distance ourselves from this.
Mm-hmm.
We do take this stuff too personally, I think. I think you and I both do.
Well, we're in a position here as well where we can't avoid it.
Well, you know, I mean, we really have to get our ammo lined up now because you know, look at all the changes that are coming over there at GN. Oh no, I'm sorry. Punish It gets off at 9. Who comes on? Oh, that's Milt. Milty.
Well, and then the two gals get some extended hours.
Yeah, the Goo Goo Sisters. You know, I tell you what I'm really mad about though is that guy with that great music from Chicago. What was his name? The host of that show that's been on GN about 10 million years.
Great music from Chicago.
Yeah,
I don't
can't even think of his name. Is that thing's been gone? Give me Dan Fabian. I want to talk to the general manager.
Chronic heartburn. And then I'd like to thank the members of our team. You're wonderful. You're wonderful.
As envisioned by our founding fathers. Just say it. WLS. Talk Radio, 890 AM and 94.7 FM.
1046 WLS. Talk Radio, 890 AM, 94.7 FM. Donna Rome of the Breakfast Diner tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. As proclaimed by the state of Illinois and Secretary of State George Ryan, Happy Talktober from WLS Talk Radio, 890 AM, 94.7 FM. Okay, we're talking Simpson. Let's get back on the phones here. And we go to Shauna on the south side. Shauna, you're on WLS.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just appalled at the verdict today. I've never called a talk show. I always sit in my car and laugh and think people are nuts. But I was just in tears today almost when I heard that he got off. I went to work arguing with everyone going, why? You know, they framed him. You know, we have to stick together. That's what's wrong with us. Well, I'm not necessarily saying I agree with interracial relationships, but he killed her. And if you sit back and look at the logical side of it, it's there. Not to the Furman or anything else. He's horrible. He's a horrible person.
Well, he's a wife beater. He was a wife beater. You know, here are people that are jumping up and down and cheering for a guy who used to beat his wife, and people just seem to dismiss that and forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anything's going to change that.
And we can't keep saying all the time that we're not going to get anywhere and white people are holding us back if we keep using that all the time as a crutch. And I've gone to college and worked hard, and my family has, and there's been some white people that have tried to hold me back, and there's some that have helped me. And I'm not going to say that everyone out here is out to get us. It's not like that. People need to wake up. And I think that's why I've been successful and happy in my life, is because I have not lived with that attitude. And the ones I think that have that attitude are never going to be happy and never have the things they want. And this proves it, that no one could give me a logical reason why he's not guilty today when I was arguing back with him. Oh, he did it, the police did it. Well, look at this. Well, look at the gloves. Where are the gloves then? Oh, well, they stole them from his house. Some crazy things they were saying. And I shouldn't let it get me so emotional because it's not my life, but it just relates to the world as it is.
Yeah, why are we, as a black woman, why are we so split? Why are we so split on race on this question of this guy's innocence or guilt?
I think because the racism is here and it's happened to all of us, and maybe some white people don't want to see that. It's there, but we can't harp on it. And I think they're using this as a scapegoat and a crutch to say, see, but you have to be logical at some point. You can't keep holding on to that. I don't want to quote Marcia Clark, the smoke. You know, I don't know. It just really upset me today. I think it just threw us back a few steps, not to look at what this man did to this woman. I looked at the pictures in Globe or something. It's horrible.
Yeah, the feminist perspective is certainly missing out of this question. Where are the feminists? Where's the anti-violence against women?
Mm-hmm.
How come we don't hear anything about? See, this is the thing that really irritates me. This is the thing that really bothers me. We don't hear anything about this. And you know, I mean, I feel relatively sure because I've done it before that I could clear all these lines off. We could change the topic at 11 o'clock, which I'm not going to do, but we could. We could change it to domestic violence and spousal abuse, and I know I could fill all these lines with women who right now are living Nicole Brown Simpson's life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why people would cheer somebody who is a wife beater. It blows me away why anybody would accept or cheer or praise this man who used to batter his wife. And, you know,
viciously, not just hit her a little.
Yeah.
He beat her up like she was a man.
No, he killed her. He killed her, and he killed Ron Goldman, and he got away with it.
Yep, and he had enough time to do it.
I agree. Thank you for the call.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
1050 WLS, dependable weather and traffic. Here's Grant Park.
Becoming clear and cooler overnight tonight. The overnight low near 50, then sunny, and tomorrow high near 70. Tomorrow night, lows in the lower 50s, and then there's a chance of rain on Thursday. 57 at O'Hare, 59 Midway, 56 in DuPage County, and the WLS temperature along the lakefront is 60, and the humidity is 90%. Northbound Tri-State, about 2 miles past Route 132, this rollover accident turned out to be more smoke than fire here. Really no problems there. In fact, they didn't even find the rollover. If you're making your way on the rest of the expressways, looking in good shape here. The overnight schedule, as far as road work goes, is very, very light. Just an inbound Ryan, local lanes Pershing before the Stevenson with the right lane blocked, and the inbound Stevenson at Pulaski with the right lane closed there.
Man, I want a big cheeseburger.
Big old cheeseburger.
Big old honking cheeseburger. Grease everywhere. Sloppy. That's what happens to me when I get neurotic. I just want to eat myself to death.
Yes.
Cheeseburger, 190 North State Street. Fries, large Coke. Thank you.
And in Elk Grove, they're cleaning up an accident in Oakton and Bussy.
Ian, could you bring me a cheeseburger, fries, and a large Coke after you get off, Ian? Could you please? Or you're off already? Come on over, okay?
This report brought to you by Merlin's Muffler and Brakes. It's their 20th anniversary. For a limited time, save 20% on Merlin's lifetime warranty muffler at participating locations. At Merlin's, they care about you and your car. Our next look at dependable traffic and weather is after the top of the hour news around 11:03. WLS Talk Radio 890 AM and 94.7 FM.
On the next row show. All right, the jury said not guilty. And I'm not going to argue with the jury's decision. I promised that I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to. But does that mean that O.J. Simpson is innocent? I don't think so. And for all of you who've been celebrating tonight, are you really celebrating the freedom of a man or the death of two innocent victims? We'll talk about it right here on Talk Radio AM and FM.
Well, if you look around Chicago, particularly look around in the parks and you look around on the highways, you can see the fences are beginning to go up now because the snow is coming and it's going to hit here one of these days. That's why you can't depend on Chicago weather to get your outdoor workout in. So now it's the perfect time to call 1-800-578-WALK for your free video and brochure showing how easy it is to walk fit. Nordic Track's Walk Fit is a total body fitness machine that makes ordinary treadmills obsolete. Exercise both your upper and lower body, where 65% of your body's muscles are located. In 12 weeks of using a walk lift, you can improve cardiovascular fitness by 21%, improve muscle endurance by 37%, improve flexibility by 17%, and trim 1.5 inches off your arms, waist, hips, and thighs. Burn an average of 850 calories an hour. That's 53% more calories than ordinary treadmills. Nordic Track's Walk Lift features a non-motorized treadmill which lets you control the pace for a safe, effective workout. Call 1-800-578-WALK for your free video showing how easy it is to walk lift. Order now. If you're not completely delighted after 30 days, you return it for a full refund. The offer ends October the 27th, so call 1-800-578-WALK.
Get it off your chest. It'll make you feel better. Just say it. WLS Talk Radio, 890 AM and 94.7 FM.
Like an icebreaker, trying to cut through all the hype, the thick atmosphere, the emotionalism, and I can't guarantee that we're even going to do that because I'm one of the most emotional guys you'll ever run into. We're trying. J. Marvin, WLS Talk Radio, 890 AM, 94.7 FM. You know what we're talking about. You got to know what we're talking about. Valerie, Carpentersville. Valerie, you're on WLS.
Hey, Jay.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
Okay, good. I need to make a point, but first I just wanted to say that you were saying that you thought it was disgusting that all these black people stood up and cheered and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what, Jay? I think it's just media because I'm a white woman, and I agree with the verdict. And you know what? On TV, all they were showing was white people saying, oh, this is a tragedy, and black people saying, oh, this is right. And it was just the media. I think that a lot of people have a lot of different opinions that they're not showing. A lot of different opinions. And I think the media is just trying to make more of a race issue out of it than it already is.
Well, you know something? I'm going to grant you that point because I've done it in the past, and I'm sure they're doing it now. And, yeah, you know, and they kept running it over and over again. So, you know what? Point well taken, and I need people like you to always remind me. So go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to let you know real fast my opinion. I had agreed with the verdict, and I was one of the people who cheered today, but I didn't cheer because he's a wife beater, because I've been abused mentally and physically too in the past. I didn't cheer for him because of that, and I didn't cheer for him because he's black and all that stuff. I just cheered because, to me, they didn't prove it to me beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you're on that jury, you have to realize that you're going to send him away for life. And you have to make damn sure that you know what you're doing before you send somebody away for life.
Do you honestly think, though, that they took the time to really figure out what was going on? I mean, they had reports of one juror she was rolling her eyes when Marcia Clark was talking. And by the way, I think Marcia Clark, without sounding sexist, and I don't want to sound sexist in this politically correct time, but I think she's a baby doll. I just have the most respect for her. I mean, this juror was rolling her eyes. It took them little or no time. I don't know. Maybe it's because they were locked up for too long, sequestered or sequestered.
Yeah, but you know what? Remember the time that they started throwing all those jurors out like for the littlest things, and that yet this woman's sitting here every day rolling her eyes and they're not doing anything about it?
Well, she didn't roll her eyes only until that last day. She was doing it that last day when Marcia Clark was presenting her evidence.
I just don't know. I mean, I know the prosecution tried really hard. I give a lot of credit to them and to the defense team. They both did what they came to do. And I just wanted to ask you, now, spousal abuse, I don't disagree that she was abused at all. I don't disagree with that fact. But you were saying that this turned into a race trial.
Yeah.
And in reality, I think that in the end it turned into a race trial, but the spousal abuse was on trial the whole time, too. And you have to agree with me that this trial was for murder, not the spousal abuse. And if the spousal abuse was that bad, and if she did say, he's going to kill me and he's going to get away with it, how come she didn't step forth and her family, how come they just didn't take it to the limit at that time and just get him?
Well, because I think what you're asking is a classic case, which is always asked of people, and I was always asked of women that are abused, and all of the shows I've ever done on it. At least one man or somebody calls up and says, well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? And you know what? I mean, women, they feel power. You know, as one woman said the other night, you know, you feel robbed of your dignity. You feel like you're trapped. You feel like you have no alternatives. It's such a dirty, shameful thing that you feel uncomfortable talking about people on the outside.
I know, I've been there, I know.
Well, okay, and so you have all of these things rolled into one, but I think that it's a classic spousal abuse equals murder type situation, which does happen in this country on a fairly regular basis. Either the abuser kills the abused, or the abused kills the abuser trying to escape. And I think that all of this, I think that the victims in this situation were all forgotten. I mean, they were forgotten when Johnny Cochran gave his summation. He tried to put the entire LAPD and the entire this entire quote unquote racist society and cops on trial, and he repeatedly said, send a message. You know what? He's right. We should send a message about this stuff. He's absolutely 100% correct. But there's a time and a place for everything. It's like going to a funeral and showing pictures of a baby. You just don't do that.
Right, but you also have to understand that that's what he came to do. I mean,
well, you know what though?
He can say whatever he wants.
You know what though?
Yeah, but what he really feels, we'll never know.
Well, you know what though? Let me tell you something. You're right, and that he has to do the job that he's hired to do. But I'll tell you something. This thing on television shows a lot of it. That what we were taught as kids just ain't so. Valerie, I got to go. I thank you for the call.
Thanks, Dave. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. All right, 591-8900. We'll take more of your calls coming up here on WLS. We'll catch a spot of news here, and then I'm going to go abuse Tony K.
Celebrating the month of Talktober. Talktober is proclaimed by the state of Illinois and serving America from the heartland. This is the 50,000-watt Talk Monster of the Midwest, WLS.
This is Chicago's Talk Radio.
WLS, AM and FM, Chicago.
Time at the sound of the verdict, 11 o'clock.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of the crime of murder.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Gil Fox.
Homeboy didn't do it, and that's cool, man.
Many black Americans say it's vindication for O.J. Simpson. Many whites say it's justice gone wrong. ABC's polling analyst Gary Langer says new poll results are no surprise.
83% of blacks in the survey agree with the jury's verdict acquitting Simpson of murder, while 56% of whites disagree with it. The two races are close on one point. Nearly half of blacks and whites alike think the verdict would have been different if the jury were mostly white instead of mostly black.
An ABC News poll has a margin of error of 4.5 percentage points. Following the verdict of not guilty, O.J. Simpson, a free man again, celebrated with friends and relatives at his home. His dream team of attorneys is breaking apart with animosity, it seems, though. Robert Shapiro says he'll never work with Johnny Cochran again. He'll never speak to F. Lee Bailey again, says Shapiro. As for his relations with Cochran, Shapiro says it was the playing of the race card in the trial that sparked the disagreement. Cochran disagrees with that notion.
There's no race card, and that's a term that's particularly offensive to most African Americans. It's very difficult for African Americans to play the race card in this country. What we did is we played the credibility card.
Cochran says the jury verdict has credibility, and it's time to move on. Hurricane Opal getting more dangerous and closer to the United States Gulf Coast all the time.
The storm was located 325 miles south of the mouth of the Mississippi River, with winds near 100 miles per hour, and some further increase in strength could occur during the next 24 hours.
Forecaster James Lewis Free says Hurricane Opal may hit the U.S. coastline sometime early Thursday morning. Heavy rains in Alaska and the flooding they've caused has swamped towns within 100 miles of Anchorage. Alaska's Governor Tony Knowles has asked President Clinton to declare the area a federal disaster zone. It took too long and cost too much, says Home Depot. The manager of the Home Depot store in San Jose, California, fired Brad Reynolds for doing at work what he did at home, recycling. He took all the stuff the store would throw away in the compactor home for recycling. They fired him for it, taking store materials for himself, they said, spending too much time on recycling at the store. It costs more than it saves, says the Home Depot manager. I'm Gil Fox, ABC News.
Igor, hurry up. We're going to miss all the fun.
Oh, what count? Where are we going?
It's that time of the year when we load up the carriage with lots of bodies, and head to bank.
WLS, Talk Radio, 890 AM and 94.7 FM.
WLS, 890 AM and 94.7 FM. Go ahead. Just say it.
Because I want to ask the people who are angry, sore at me and at you, don't you feel better as a result of all this? You suddenly become important. You're arguing with somebody on the air, and you feel a little better. And before things were dull, and now your juices are flowing. Yay, Marvin!
1104 WLS, Talk Radio, 890 AM, 94.7 FM. Jay Marvin, your resident bipolar, manic depressive. On the program, the questions, conventional wisdom, and authority. Here's the facts. Jay, as an African-American woman, I was wounded by this verdict. I believe he is guilty, and I thought the jury would look at the evidence closely. I was wrong. They thought with their hearts instead of their heads. Many women in the African-American community think domestic violence is part of life. Many women have been or know women who have been abused. As an African-American woman, they consider themselves black first, and being a woman is secondary. Robert Shapiro, too little, too late. Great show, Jay. Some of us do understand, and we are trying to make a difference, and that's Kelly in Chicago. Jay, he did it. He had a trial. He got off. We don't have to like it. We just have to live with it. This is one major... there is one major consolation, though, for those of us who thought he was guilty of sin. When the Browns and the Goldmans get done with him in a civil court, he'll be selling Streetwise and carrying a squeegee. That's from Rob. Bill in Dixmoor. Bill, you're on WLS. Go ahead.
Hello, Jay.
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, I can appreciate how you feel. I mean, I'm African American, I guess you say. But this is 1995. In 1935, I know when I was a young man, the solution for this anger was a rope and a tree.
Yeah, that's true.
There was no trial. But the people who did this, they seemed to get a certain release from the anger. And it never mattered whether the lynch party was guilty or innocent. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to make this observation. Most people that I hear say he was a wife beater, that could be a reason that he could be guilty. But I think a lot of this anger is directed at Simpson because, for one thing, he's rich. A lot of people envy that richness.
Well, I think
even black Americans envy his wealth.
Well, do you think though...
Let me finish.
Wait a minute, can I ask you a question? Let me ask you a question. Do you think that there are people out there who feel angry and slighted because they feel that the rich can waltz into a courtroom, get 5 attorneys, pour a lot of money into a defense, and the average person would not get that?
Reminds me of Dan Rostenkowski.
Yeah?
What else is new?
Yeah? Well, no, but I'm asking. It's not a matter of... I'm just asking if you think there's a lot of people that are angry about that.
Not really.
You don't think so?
No, because I think most people, they respect wealth in the hands of certain people, and in the hands of other people, they resent it.
Do you think that they resent the wealth in the hands of O.J. Simpson?
Sure they do.
Who's they?
It's a natural phenomenon.
Who's they?
Many of these angry people who want to say he's guilty. I'm not saying
wait a minute. One of these angry people who want to say he's guilty, I mean, they have every right to believe he's guilty as anybody has any right to believe he's innocent.
Did I say they didn't have that right?
And are you saying that they believe that he's... What people are you talking about?
What is the motivation for all this guilt that, seems so obvious? I mean, what's there? What is the evidence that he's guilty?
What's the evidence?
Yes.
Well, I mean, why don't we re-argue the entire trial right here and now?
You don't have to re-argue it. It's already been settled. So the evidence there was not adequate. So the man is not guilty.
But there are many of us who feel, and I'm one of them, and I'll just talk for myself, I don't think that the outcome hinged on the evidence. I think the outcome hinged on an emotional appeal of race.
Right. But now, see, that's where we're protected. These decisions are not decided by race. They're decided by the courts, the judges, and the jury. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. But are you saying to me, are you going to tell me that you don't think that race had anything to do with it? Are you going to say that Mr. Cochran never invoked race into the whole into the question of the trial? That Mr. Cochran has openly said, publicly, said it tonight, said it yesterday, that everything in America turns on race. Do you believe that?
Of course not. But just a minute, when you speak of race, there's another element that was injected into this trial that a lot of people are not aware of. They use this gender thing, the prosecution. You notice in most cases of this magnitude, they would have a male lead attorney. I mean, historically, that's the way it is. But what the prosecution was wise enough to do was to create that adversarial position between a black man and a white woman.
Oh, so Marcia Clark got where she was because she was a woman, not because she was qualified.
That's not the point that I'm making. I'm talking about the selection of the prosecution.
Yeah, they selected her because she was a woman. Is that what you're saying? Okay, how about this? Why did the defense, when they had F. Lee Bailey, Mr. Shapiro, and numerous other white attorneys involved in the case, why was Mr. Cochran suddenly brought on board as the lead attorney? Couldn't have been because he was a black man, could it?
Because he was black?
Yeah.
Of course not.
So the prosecution picked a woman because of gender, but the defense never picked Mr. Cochran because he was black. What do you think? We're living in a dream world?
Hang up on me. Are you going to hang up on me?
Don't start with that crap.
You hang up in a minute.
Oh, don't start with that crap.
Yes, you will.
Don't start with that crap, and don't be a coward. Don't hide behind it. Just come forward and admit it. If you're going to say that the prosecution picked Marcia Clark because she was a woman and Chris Darden because he was a black man, then you know what? I got every right to turn the tables on you. And I got every right to say that they picked Cochran. That Cochran was the lead attorney because he was a black man.
Jay. Black or white, Cochran is the top man in his field.
So is Mr. Shapiro. So is Mary Scheck.
Marcia Clark is not.
How do you know?
I know. You know it.
Back it up. How do you know? Where do you get your proof and your evidence?
She's not the top attorney.
How do you know? Who is then?
Who handled the Rodney King case?
Nah, that was handled in Simi Valley. And then when it was... Wait a minute. Hold it a second. See, because here's what you've done. You've ridden your little bicycle of ignorance right into the valley.
Ignorance.
So I'm going to help you come out of the valley.
Ignorance.
The Simi Valley trial was held outside of Los Angeles.
What does that have to do with...
Shut up and I'll teach you something.
You can't teach me.
Oh, get off then, you brainstem. If you don't want to hear it, I'll say it for everybody else. It's guys like you that make me sick. Who don't have the facts, okay? The Rodney King trial was held in all-white Simi Valley, was not handled by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, and the second trial that took place was the Fed. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's a guy who looks at it through race only. Good for you. Good for you, pal. Nice shot. Guy's probably a wife beater. Mike in Barrington Hills. Mike, you're on WLS.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm, white in late 30s. I think they brought race into it, and I'm saying the prosecution, when they let Furman testify. And my just one comment was, why today at the prosecution's press conference, and I just saw this late tonight, was Furman's attorney, Robert Tortolo, standing right behind and alongside Gil Garcetti and the rest of those people?
I think that's an excellent question, and I think that that's the part that's so tragic, is the fact that we have to find out that of all the things that have gone down in L.A., and with the Los Angeles Police Department's most disgusting record when it comes to violence, and when it comes to almost fascist-like tactics, particularly against people of color, that we have to find out in a trial of this magnitude that they got a neo-Nazi running around. They got a neo-Nazi running around on the force. I think that's an excellent question. I think that's one of the things that really makes me sad about this whole thing and disturbs me, is that this organization, this police organization, the nation's second largest city, right, refuses or will not or cannot, or I don't know what the story is there, can't clean their act up for 5 minutes. They can't get anything together. How many other Mark Furmans are there on the LAPD? I'd like to know.
None of us know, but the point I'm trying to make is, I think taking everybody's emotional, both sides, but taking the emotion out, it makes you start thinking that there are a lot of questions still out there, and they knew what Furman was all about before they even put him on the stand. Marcher Clark and everybody else there.
But they were stuck with him. Maybe they were stuck with him. Maybe they had no choice.
And
I mean, I think the bigger question to ask is, what was he doing at the crime scene? Why was he even on the police force?
Well, there's just a whole bunch of questions related to that.
I mean, here's a guy who put a swastika on a guy's locker. Yeah. I mean, what do you do if you went to your job, man, and somebody put a swastika on your desk? Do you think your boss would fire him?
In a minute.
Okay. How did he manage to survive? If you think that that's a mind-blowing question, try this one. How could Tom Bradley, who was the mayor for so long in Los Angeles, who came out of the LAPD and was there for a long time, how could he have acted like there was nothing wrong? I mean, what does it take to clean that department up? What does it take? What does it take to get their act together? I mean, the biggest shocker of all of this, to me, outside of the verdict, and the fact that I believe that Simpson killed these two people and got away with it, the biggest shocker to me is that this guy Furman was even at the scene. What was he doing on the police force?
Well, that's the sad thing.
It is sad, and it's sad particularly for those of us. And I don't know how many other people are out there who feel as I do, but they're sad for those of us who grew up in Los Angeles. And it's sad because it has national implications. I mean, when are cities going to clean up their police departments, and when are we going to get about the business of rectifying the bad and terrible feelings between minority communities and the police? And now, I mean, how many more messages does Los Angeles need?
Well,
they've had 3 within my lifetime, and I don't know how old you are, but they've had 3. Actually, they've had 4. Although the LA deputy sheriffs were responsible for one of the incidents, but they've had 3. Here are the 3. They had the problems in South Central LA in '65. Okay. All right, they had that. All right.
It's just
they had Rodney King, and now they've got this.
Yeah. Well, I think it was clear their arrogance or thoughtfulness. There's just no point. The gentleman was there, Furman's attorney, and that's all I wanted to say. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Jack, Schiller Park. Jack, you're on WLS.
How you doing, Jay?
I'm okay, man. Go ahead. I'm trying to. Oh, my cheeseburger and fries arrived. Although these fries look pretty crushed. Thank you. What's this? I'm not eating this pepper, man. Get out of here. I'm okay. I'm trying to withhold. I'm trying to, keep my anger and being. I'm trying to keep it all in check. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say my mother Sandra loves you to death.
Well, tell her I said hello.
She loves you so much.
You don't mind if I eat my cheeseburger in front of you?
You go right ahead. It's fine. I just wanted to say the only thing I don't understand about this is how is everybody so different in their opinions? That's what's driving me crazy. I mean, I don't see myself different as anybody else in the world. And the people that I know don't see themselves as different as anybody else. And then, like the people were saying earlier, is how are the black people they show on TV saying that he's innocent and the white people saying that he's guilty?
Because our life experiences are different than those of black America. We don't drive down the street and get pulled over. We don't get harassed. We don't have
okay, but
we don't have the same life experiences that they do. We don't come out on the short end of the stick when it comes to law enforcement.
Right, but didn't we all hear the same thing? The same, you know. I mean, I wanted O.J. not to be guilty, you know, and you know, he was an idol of mine. But I mean, the whole thing is, I wanted him not guilty, but I don't understand how everybody could be so different in this.
Because they don't trust the man. That's why. Because they don't trust the power structure. Because Black America has been so set upon by crooked politicians, by repressive police regimes, that they just don't see things. They don't see things the same way, and we don't see the things the way they see it. I'm convinced of this, not because we're racist or because we're hateful. I mean, we get that way when we get angry, when we don't understand. But I think we don't see it because we don't live it. We don't know what it's like. I mean, you and I could drive through Brentwood, because I've been to Brentwood many times. We could drive through Brentwood and nothing would happen to us.
Yeah.
If I took a black man and had him drive through Brentwood, and I laid down on the back seat of the car, I guarantee you that if he drove through Brentwood long enough, he would get pulled over. And it would be some bum excuse, okay? It would be something like, I mean, it would be anything. It's like,